Welcome to my podcast. Welcome to my podcast. Welcome to my podcast. Okay, seriously, welcome to my podcast. This is the first episode, so I am very excited. So, again, welcome to my podcast. This podcast is about, drum roll please, books. Well, wait. Don't go nowhere. So, I decided to do a podcast about books and book reviews because I think that reading is kind of like a lost art in today's world. So, I just wanted to do something that's, I know many people still love and just try to bring back, like, reading is cool, right? So that's kind of like what we're geared to doing on this podcast or whatever like that. So it will be like a no tea type of podcast. So yes, we would not be doing no celebrity news, no celebrity gossip, no tea. Our main focus is going to be books and book reviews. That is it. I went with books because I feel like books are like a great escape from the real world, right? So that's why it's like no tea, no celebrity gossip, no real world stuff. It's like, let's relax, get into our book, just escape. That's kind of like how I fell in love with, reading books and just, just the overall whole book thing. It's a great escape. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna talk about books, book reviews. I have been an avid reader for a very, very, very long time, and whenever I come in contact with somebody new, I always find myself giving book reviews. We talk about books, so I say, what other thing that what's a great thing that I can talk about that can help people, in a unique type of way. So books it is. Alrighty. So I have been a Kindle subscriber because that's where I read the majority of my books. So I have been a Kindle subscriber for over, I want to say at this point, over 10, 15 years. But I have been reading books longer than that. I used to do paperback 20 years ago, and then I was reading so many books and buying so many books. I kind of was stuck in the old school way of like reading and doing things, but I was like, okay, I'm reading too many books. Oh, per week, I'm like 3 books and I'm buying them, Barnes and Nobles, So I was like, you know what? Let's switch over to Kindle. So I have been a Kindle subscriber for, like I said, for over 15 years. To date, I have probably read over about 2,000 books. I love reading. Like I said, I think it's a great escape from kind of reality. You can just take a break and like read somebody else's drama, read somebody else's problems, and kind of just, not deal with your own at the moment. So I really do love reading. So how I got into reading, I remember I want to say like early middle school, maybe like 5th or 6th grade. So my dad, he was like very pro education, and I remember he gave me this book, and I don't know if he read it or like he found it somewhere, somebody gave it to him, but he gave me this book, and this book was probably what you guys would call very inappropriate. But I don't think he knew that. So the book was like, it was like a country book. It was like a lady who lived like on a farm, and she had this like romance with like this ranch handler or whatever like that, like the cheesy cliche type of, book. But it was very entertaining. It caught my attention, and I was like, dang, books could be, other than like school books, like this is cool, right? So that's kind of what like grew my love for reading. That's what my love for reading started. I probably was, like I said, probably like fifth or sixth grade. So you probably shouldn't have been reading that kind of book, but it did open me up to like, okay, let's read. Read to escape. So that's kind of how I started like my love for books, and now I'm a little over 35. So I have been reading a very long time. Um, so on this podcast, we are, like I said, we are going to review books. I am going to do 3 books a week. The books that I prefer are urban fiction, romance. But I have went through a lot of those books, so I have branched out to like urban romance, like mythical fantasy. So we're gonna do like a lot of those books, but I don't want to like close myself in too much on a certain type of genre. So we gonna read everything. We're gonna read everything. But like I said, we'll do about 3 books a week. In those spots, we will have an urban fiction or romance. We'll probably do something mythical, fantasy, science fiction, fantasy, something like that in the number 2 spot, and then the number 3 spot is probably just gonna be like a wild card. I'm not gonna give it all away right now. So that's the how we're gonna do like the book setup every week. Now, I will say you guys will enjoy, if you stick around, you will enjoy the majority of the books that I am going to recommend to you, because I feel like I am a tough critic when it comes to recommending books to people, and also like the type of books that I like to read. Like I said, I've been reading books for a very, very long time. So usually if I get a book and it's just not hitting for what it needs to be hitting for, I probably wouldn't read it. So I probably wouldn't recommend it to you guys. So the majority of the books that I'm going to review and recommend to you guys will be books that I enjoy. I'm not sure yet if we are going to do the books that I don't enjoy. Like, I still want to give those authors like their shine, because like, it's a craft and it's art, and it's like I don't want to like diss anybody art, because I know a lot goes into the writing process and everything like that. But I just don't want to like say, hey, this author, and I didn't enjoy the book, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure if I'm going to review any books that I don't enjoy. So like I said, for the most part, the majority of the books that I'm going to review and recommend to you guys, I enjoy. Okay? So, like I said too, I am a hard critic. So I like books that make sense. I like books that stick with the plot, and it's not too many plot changes. Sometimes I don't like books that seem like maybe somebody wrote the beginning, somebody wrote the end. If I come across a book like that, that's probably going to be one of those books that I don't recommend. I don't like too many like plot upgrades. And what I mean by like plot upgrades are like if the story is going in one direction and then it just take a crazy right, and then it take a crazy left and another crazy right. And I'm not talking about like in a shocking and it's like, ooh, juicy to the story, but I'm just talking about like it just don't make sense. Again, this is gonna probably be one of the books I won't recommend you guys, or I don't finish, so you probably won't even get around to the part of recommending or reviewing or whatever, because if it's something crazy like that, then yeah, we're not doing it. The way that we are going to review books here is a couple different ways for each book. So I don't want to give too much of the book away, but I do want to recommend it to you guys, give you like a little snippet of it, let you know like it's a good book, and then I'll let you guys go out and read it. So we will always do like the author's description of the book, and then we will go over what I like to call the book report questions, so that'll just give you like a brief breakdown of the book. And then my favorite part is going to be the passages that I choose to read to you guys that I found either my favorite part or that I found very interesting and that I think that you guys would enjoy without giving too much of the book away. Because I don't want this to be, even though it's a book review podcast, I don't want to give too much of it away to where it's like she told us everything. I don't want to read the book. I'm gonna get you right to the cliff before you jump. And I'm gonna leave you right there. I'm gonna leave you hanging. So that's how we're going to review the books. I'm going to give you some of the juicy stuff, but I promise not to give it away. I'm not going to give it all away. Okay? So, all right. So today, by this being my first episode of my podcast, I decided to start out with my favorite books. So, well, some of my favorite books. Maybe next week we'll do some more of my favorite books or whatever, however it goes. But I'll let you guys know in advance. But today we are going to do my favorite books. Now, these books are great. 5-star, will recommend, will review, defend any day of the week, right? So that's why I want to start out strong and give you guys some good books so that you can get a good idea of my level of recommendations. Like, yeah, she be recommending some good books. So that's why I wanted to kind of start like with my favorites or whatever like that. Okay, cool. So the first book we are going to start with this book. What can I say about this book? I love this author. I love this book. I have read this book. I did a reread for the podcast, and I have read, with the reread, I have read this book 4 times. Like, I love this book. Every couple of years, I would be like, oh, let me reread that book. I love that book. So, of course, and like I said, this is like one of the books, if I run into somebody on the streets and we're having a conversation about books and they're like, yeah, I'm a reader, I'm like, you need to read this book. So I always recommend this book. I love this book. Like I said, I reread this book every couple years. So, of course, the books that I'm going to recommend today, they are not like in any ranking order. They're just like all books I love. So just because I'm doing this one first does not mean like I love this one the most. But all of the books today I absolutely love. So, yeah. So we're not going to start out shade nobody, no Arthurs or none. Arthurs, I love you. Love you. Alrighty. So the first book we are going to review today is called, drumroll please. It's called That East Side Love. Now, this is a series, but today we are only going to review book 1. The author is Lucinda John. The setting of this book is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This book was originally published in 2015 because, like I said, I have read this book 4 times. So yes, it's been out for a while. But don't let that stop you from reading it, because I don't feel like it's dated or anything. And then during the story, the author do some jumps. So because it's like in 2015, it don't seem that way. So yeah, it's still a good book. The main characters in this book is Diamond, Bobby, and Zoe. Right? Okay. This book had very little errors. It was like a couple name mix-up errors between the 2 guys, but you will be able to read around it, and it wasn't like a hindrance to the story. So you will be like absolutely fine. So let me pull up the book, and what we're going to do is we're going to read that little snippet. Like I said, we're going to read that like Arthur's snippet. Okay, hood love story. Love will conquer all, or will it cause a war? Do you feel me? Fine. I tell y'all, listen. I told y'all, I read this book every couple of years. Love it. Okay. So, next part of our review is going to be just what I call my book report questions. So, was the book engaging? The book is very engaging. Like, we gonna jump off the porch with drama, okay? Like, you are going to be glued to your seat. Book one, book two, book three. Sorry, y'all. It's a series. But like I said, I read this series every couple of years. So, is it engaging? Absolutely. 5 stars. You're going to love it. Is it predictable? I would not say it's predictable. I would not say it's predictable. I want to say that it's not. No, it's not. I had to flash and be like, no, it's not. It's not predictable. So a lot of the things you guys are not going to see coming. You're going to be like, oh my God, did that really happen? Did she just do that? Did he just do that? So no, it's not predictable. This story is, like I said, it's still fresh. I have read a lot of stories and they do get predictable. This is one of those stories where it just really stuck with me and I don't feel like the plot is predictable, and it's like you give it a couple years, you'll forget it, you reread it again, and you fall in love with the book again. So no, not predictable at all. Did the book achieve its goal of keeping the reader entertained? Yes. I was very entertained, so yes, it did. It did its job. The book, does the book make you care about the characters? Absolutely. I feel like the book gives enough backstory to where you do actually feel personally connected to the characters. So you will care about what's going to happen to them, and yeah. So yeah, I feel like the book does draw you in, make you care about the characters, and about their actions and their emotions as well. Like I said, I think the book is accurate. It sticks to a timeline, and when it does jump, like the ages still match, the details still match. Everything is still on point when they do the little jump ahead, so they do the jump back. So that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, like when it don't match no more. Then I'll be like, oh, that one little detail throw me off. But no, everything match. Like, so you don't have to worry about like the age is not matching up when we jump 3 years, but the character age jumped 6 years. Like nothing like that. So it does still match. It trigger warnings for this book. So the trigger warnings for this book is going to be murder, domestic violence, is going to be statutory rape. So if you guys know what statutory rape is, it's not forcefully rape, but it is grown up having sex with underage. Somebody underage, so unfortunately it's a little bit of that in there. And suicide. Sorry about that, I couldn't read my writing. So for the trigger warnings, again, for this book, it's going to be a little statutory rape, it's going to be suicide, it's going to be murder, and it's going to be some domestic violence. They're not really in grave detail, so I wouldn't like let that turn me off too much, but I do know a lot of people like to know if these things are in the book, and unfortunately it is in this book. I still love this book, you know. So moving on. All right. So the next part of the review is going to be like I said, the part that's going to draw you in about the book is going to bring you right to the club, but we're not going to jump off. I'm going to let you jump off at home by yourself when you are kicked back in your PJs enjoying your book. So, yeah, let's get to the part of the book that I am going to share with you guys today. Oh man, I just had the book pulled up. Alrighty, now which part of the book am I sharing with you guys? So in no means am I like going to share like the first chapter or the end chapter. It may be, sometimes it may be that, it might be that way. But today I am actually not going to tell you guys what part of the book I am sharing, I am just going to share it, okay? But this is, I feel like a good part that will get you a little emotionally attached to the book. Get you ready to read this book, okay? So, almost there, guys. Yes. So, we are going to start with Zoe. Okay, so Zoe is Haitian. So some of his parts are in Haitian. So I am not going to attempt to read that. I am just going to read the English. But you guys will understand when you read the book. Technically, they were my father's, Gustavo. After his murder, your uncle crossed over and sold them. It wasn't until I noticed the Haitian flag he wore around his dreads that I realized what he was talking about. Here I was standing in front of Zoe, the legend, Gustavo's son. All right, and so that is just a snippet that I picked from that East Side Love. I think, like I said, just enough to get you guys worked up a tad bit. Okay. So like I said, this book is one of my favorites. I revisit it every couple of years. The storyline is, like I said, it's always fresh to me. I feel like she didn't date the book by putting too many, like, what year was this book? 2015. She didn't date the book by putting too many 2015 details in. So it's like you can reread it in today's world and then like everything is still cool, right? Right. All right. Also, so I know when I was reading, I mentioned a couple of the characters. So when I read main characters off, main characters to me are characters who is going to have a part in speaking in a book. So if they mention somebody, but that character does not speak or does not have like their own chapter to tell their own story, then they are not a main character to me. So as you can see, Diamond had a couple friends and they were not mentioned when I mentioned main characters. So they are not main characters in this book. Also Zoe had somebody as well in his chapter that he mentioned that got a couple lines. But like I said, if they are not telling their story, then they are not main characters. So in this book, Zoe, Diamond, and Bobby are main characters. 5 stars. Recommend. Chef kisses. Love it. All right. Okay. So my next book. I'll go ahead and kind of like spill the tea a little bit with this book. I didn't know when I started reading this book, when I originally read this book, that it is going to be like hood romance, I want to say mythical fantasy. So that means we're going to have a little bit of like, I wouldn't say like magic, but it's not going to be like normal, just like everyday life. So it's going to be very creative stuff happening in this book. And so when I first read this book, I did not know that. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I got to that part. But I am giving away to you guys. Sorry. Because maybe if you're not into that type of book, then maybe you don't want to read that type of book. So I'm just like giving you a little forewarning. So if you think you might not need to be into that type of thing, then yeah, this is your out. But like I said, I recommend some really good books, so I actually recommend you read this book. This book is very good. The only downside of this book is it is a series, and the series is not finished. Okay, so the book is really, really, really good. And I have waited around for a very long time for this author to finish this book. But it's worth the read. I have read her other works, and some series are completed and everything like that. Um, so the name of this book is drumroll. The name of this book is Stealing the Pastor's Daughter. Okay, I'm still laughing because the series is not finished and it is a great book. This makes me laugh because, like I said, when I come in contact with people and we talk about books and they're like, oh, did you read this? Did you read that? Oh, you should read this. You should read that. I actually met somebody and they had read this book and they were like me. They were like holding on to the edge of their seat and they was waiting for the author to come out. I believe at that time with the second book, with the second or the third book. But both of us were like on the same page. We were like, oh my God, it's a great story. We love it. We can't wait for the author to finish the series. And what so happened was the girl that I met, she was a little high strung, to say the least. And she told me that she actually wrote into this author and was kind of harassing her about like finishing this book. And so so that was, we were still waiting on book one. We were still waiting on book one at that time. So when I met her, we were still waiting on book one and we was discussing how good it was. So she told me that she was writing into this author and was kind of harassing her and like trying to get her to have book two come out. I don't know who got that much time on their hands, but I guess. But the book is great, so it takes you there, right? But what's so funny is when Arthur released book two, she put this like disclaimer, and it was like, for you guys who all are waiting, I'm going to get around to it. Long story short, is what she said. But you guys can read the book and see what she said in there. But when I read that part, I was just like laughing like I am still right now because I was just like, that girl crazy, right? And I was like, she harassing this lady about a book, right? So yeah, that part always kind of just make me laugh that I met that girl and she was literally writing into the author, getting on her like, come on, ma'am, we need this book. So, as of today, which, well, I won't say the date, but we are in 2025. The book is still not finished. So we have book one and book two, and we are still waiting around for book three. But like I said, this is one of my favorite books. So I wanted to bring it to you guys, and we'll just have to put it on that list of books we have to check back every now and then that have, that's a series that's incomplete. Because we will run into a couple more stories I might recommend to you guys that might be newer books and the series are not complete, but I really feel like you guys might enjoy it. In an event, I will always let you guys know that it's an unfinished series, just in case like you're an impatient person and you don't want to wait around for that book. And that's why every week I'm going to be reviewing so many books, because every book is going to have like a different element, or like I said, some of them might not be, it might be an unfinished series. And so it's just like, I don't want to leave you guys hanging, or, or it could be some type of book that you might not be into. But hopefully, because I'm reviewing 3 books a week, hopefully you can find a book in those 3 that you can, roll with. So again, the name of this book is Stealing the Pastor's Daughter. The author is Edwina Ford. The setting is Houston, Texas. This book was published in 2021. Oh my God. And it's still not finished. But we love her. We love her. We love her. We love her. I have read some other books of hers, and she has a nice collection. The majority of her series are finished. She's a great author. I will wait for her. I will wait. That's not how the future song go. But yeah, I will wait for her, okay? So like I said, we're just gonna put that on the list of books of series that's unfinished that we gotta check back every now and again to see if it's finished. Maybe she might see this and be like, okay, let me put pen to paper and finish it, right? Okay. The main characters in this book, we only have 2 main characters. It's going to be Gator and Mackenzie. There are very little errors in the book. I really can't actually remember off the top of my head. I don't think there were no errors. So that's a big up. I love when authors go that extra mile and get their books proofed, and so then that way it's just no errors, right? Uh, Engaging, 5 stars. The book was very engaging. It was a fresh storyline. I think by it being like mythical, fantasy, sci-fi, you are going to be very much engaged in the book, right? Because it's fresh and it's something like you never read before. So yes, 5 stars. The book is engaging. Is the plot predictable? No. Same reason. Is sci-fi, fantasy, urban romance is just a fresh storyline, right? So the book's strengths or weaknesses is also the same thing for me, because the book's strengths to me is because it's sci-fi, urban romance. It's so many things that she's like making it up. That is the strength. So like you're not going to run into another book that's going to be like this book, right? But that's also the weakness, I feel like, because that's what's taking her so long to write the books, because it's just like she's coming up with these ideas and she's being very creative and she got these storylines going like right off the top of her head. Well, not right off the top of her head. I guess it's taking a little time to formulate. So I guess that's the weakness. Is just the weakness for me is that it's an incomplete series. But I understand why, because I know it takes time to create something so unique in this book. So that's just that's the weakness to me. Did the book achieve its goal? Yes, it kept me entertained. It keeps me telling people about it, recommending it to people. So yes, the book absolutely does its job. Does it make you care about the characters? Absolutely. Again, I do feel like the book give enough backstory where it draws you in and it makes you care about the characters' outcome, overall well-being, their actions, and what's going to happen to them and their storyline. And so it's just the right amount of backstory that gets you there. Was the plot and the dialogue believable? Yes and yes, right? I feel like the part where it's normal story is believable and the dialogue match. The part that is like more mythical fantasy, yeah, you can't judge that, right? Because it's not normal, so you can't say, oh, did the dialogue match or not? It matched for the story. Oh yeah, so yeah, I can say yeah, it matched for the story. Perfect. Was it accurate? Absolutely. I don't. So this is so this book is a one dayer, like the movie Friday. So everything in this book happens in one day. So you don't have any like timeline skips or like timeline jumps or anything like that. So a month from now to, like they show the characters moving along. It's just basically a day in the life of these two characters. So for the most part, like the timeline is accurate. I believe the details they give, everything is accurate. So yeah, a trigger warnings for this book is a little statutory rape, police brutality, and a little talks of murder. So not too much. Not too much. Like I said, it's only one night, so not too much. Okay. So all right, we are going to get into the passage. Like I said, that's gonna bring you to the edge of the cliff, but you're gonna have to jump off on your own, okay? So let me pull the story up. And we are Gator. We're gonna start with, so we starting out with Gator. I couldn't believe I had the fucking pastor's daughter in my truck. What the hell am I doing? And on a day I was riding dirty in my own personal vehicle. just a little snippet of Gator and Mackenzie. Like I said, I'm gonna bring you to the cliff, but we're not gonna jump off. You gotta jump off on your own. So hopefully I gave you enough of a tease where you got just a little bit of an idea of like the book. Like as I mentioned before, that book is like a 1 day type of book. So it's still a good amount of detail and storytelling, and it get way more interesting than that. And I think where I read you guys, it was a little bit before that. So you're going to enjoy that one as well. So I definitely recommend 5 stars. Again, as I mentioned, that one is like I would classify it as romance, urban. That's what they say. Urban romance, like sci-fi, science fiction, mythical, fantasy type of thing, right? Okay. So yes. Alrighty. So moving on to our last book of the night. Now, this one is a classic, right? This book has been making noise for the last 25 years. Oh my God, right? So I had to do this book. I had to talk about this book. I had to discuss this book. It is actually one of my favorites. This was my first book that I read that was like an urban romance. So that other book I told y'all about before, like I said, it was like country, it was white people. But this was the first book that was like I said, urban romance fiction book, right? I remember this book when I was, again, I want to say middle school, and I wasn't like fifth or sixth. I want to say like sixth, seventh, maybe eighth at the time. And this book is, I wouldn't say wildly inappropriate in today's world, but at that time it was. And I remember my sister came home with the book, and it was her friend's book. And you know, back then, of course, 20 years ago or whatever the case may be, people who had paperback books, and people was like stingy with their books. So my sister friend had lent her the book, and so when my sister came home with the book, I was like, oh, I want to read it. And she was like, nope, I gotta give my friend back her book in a timely fashion, or like, long story short, that's kind of like what she said or whatever like that. So she's like, I gotta read it, so it's kind of inappropriate, you can't read it. And I was just like, I want to read this book, right? So I remember my sister read until she went to sleep, and then I stayed up, and then I read the book, and I think that went on for like 2 days until like we finished the book. So when she was able to take her friend back the book, like I was done with the book as well, right? And that book, I think that book, everybody has the same impression of this book, just like, wow, like mind blowing, right? This was like, I think everybody's kind of like introduction to like these type of books, right? And that book has always stuck with me, and it's, I think the passage that always has stuck with me, I think that's the passage that I'm going to actually end up reading to you guys. But without further ado, that book is, drum roll please, the coldest winter ever, guys, right? So, oh, as you can see, I have it in a paperback. So the majority of the books that I'm recommending to you guys are actually free on the Kindle app. If you are signed up with Kindle through like Amazon or something, I think that's the way that I have it. So the first 2 books that I recommended to you guys are free on the Kindle app, and the majority of the books that I will recommend to you guys will be free on the Kindle app. This book was not. This book was not. So I went and I pulled it up, and I think this book is still like $11.99 or something like that. So I was like, okay, girl, get your money, get your coin 25 years later. But I pay for enough subscriptions, as we all do in today's world. So you know, I said, I'm going to the library. So I went on to the library and I renewed my little library card or whatever. And I got the book. So that is going to be our last book of the night, which is The Coldest Ones Ever. This book is, like I said, very important. I think it has made uh, a lasting effect on everybody in the last 25, 26 years or whatever like that. Like, this is a hood classic, urban classic. If you guys remember a couple years ago, they were talking about making this book into a movie. This book has been the talk for, like I said, the last 26 years. This book is a classic. I probably am recommending it to you guys, and if you are readers, you probably have already read this book. But for the people that have not, maybe, you are just getting into reading, or you are younger and you maybe was born in 2025. You have never heard of this book, and you ain't got around to it yet, so we gonna still review it. Like I said, this book is great. This book was that book, and it was like, wow, right? So yeah, I have to review that book. It would be crazy not to review The Coldest Ones Ever. So let's get to the review, and let's go ahead and wrap it up for the night, for the day, whatever. All right, so where is my review for this book? All right. So, The Coldest Ones Ever, the author is Sister Soldier. The setting is the New York area, but mainly Brooklyn. As I mentioned before, this book has been the talk of the town for the last 25, 26 years. It was published in 1999. Excuse me. The main character is Winter. She is the only person that's going to talk. She is the only person that we are going to get the point of view story from. So she is the main character. It's going to be other characters, but nobody talks and tells a story but Winter. Was there any errors in this book? No. I want to say the book that I actually have is a republished, so they probably have proofread this book a bunch of times, because I found no errors. All right. So moving on to the rest of our book report questions. Was this book engaging? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, the book started off very graphic, detailed about Winter saying she popped out her mama's coochie. I think she was the first author who opened up a book just like, rah, it gets you from the beginning. So yes, this book is very engaging. 5 stars. Will recommend and recommend it, right? Plot predictable. So I would say the plot is predictable in a way where it is it's like a hood story. So it's predictable in a way where the majority of these hood stories, they don't end good. So you kind of know, like, in your mind, like, oh, this is not going to end well. Especially when you start reading the book and you kind of see what type of character she is, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this don't end well. So in that aspect, I would say, yes, the plot is predictable in saying it's not going to end well. But on the other hand, I would say the plot is not predictable because she do go through some new unique situations. She's a pretty girl. She comes from a unique background. So doors open up for her, right? So a lot of the stuff is not predictable. Not the everyday run-of-the-mill situations, So yes and no, right? So a little predictable in a way that because it's a hood story, hood stories don't end well, right? And then not predictable because it's a just really unique to her in her situation. Yeah, but you're not gonna guess. You're not gonna guess. If you have never read the book before, you're not gonna guess what's about to happen next. I will say, from chapter to chapter, you're not gonna guess what's gonna happen next. Okay. The book strengths. The book strength to me is that it is very relatable. I feel like that is beneficial because a lot of the times people want to read stories where it's like, oh, okay, I know somebody that happened to, or that happened to me, or so it's very relatable. So it's like you want to kind of see other people's point of view and aspects of situations that you can relate to. So I feel like that is one of the book's strengths to me. One of the book's weaknesses. Um, I felt like one of the book's weaknesses was Winter's ignorance, right? She was just like kind of dumb as a box of rocks a little bit, right? But I'm torn to say that is a weakness because I feel like that kind of helps with the point of the book. So it's purposely done. So you really can't count it as a weakness, right? So I'm kind of teetering here. So if we don't take that as a weakness, then I would say that this book does not have a weakness. So really, that's right there. Does the book achieve its goals? Absolutely. So I would definitely say that it achieves its goal of keeping the reader very entertained. I think it also achieves its goal of making a point of when we educate ourselves and educate the youth, it breaks generational curses. And then also the reverse. When the youth is not educated, it creates generational curses. So that is like the main point of this book. It's like if this person would have knew better, they could have taught this person better, and then this person could have made better choices and taught the next person, right? So we see like a passed down generation to generation of not being taught better and just coming to terms with those situations where people don't know better, they don't do better. So like that's what the book is about. So I do think the book achieves its goal of making its point of that. Believable plot and dialogue. Yes and yes. Like I say, it is a very relatable story. It is everyday happenings, and the dialogue fit. It wasn't nothing extreme over the top that that's not believable. Inaccuracies, like I said, no inaccuracies, no errors. I think when no, take that back. It wasn't inaccuracies for me. The only thing that I kind of found like, this detail don't fit to me, because like I said, I'm nitpicky like that, was sometimes we are moving along in a storyline and the amount of things that happen, like, oh, she went to sleep, she woke up, she went to sleep, she woke up, and it looked like 2 weeks have passed. Then the author would say, oh, she go visit somebody, but then like only a couple of days have passed in the story that she have told us in those 2 days. So it's not inaccurate, but it just like a little bit of the timeline, it seemed like more time should have passed than what have actually passed. But it's not a big break in the plot or anything like that. That's just to me. This, like I say, I kind of go through it with a fine tooth comb. So to me, that is just like one thing. But for the most part, like, it's accurate. Trigger warnings about this is we have a pregnant girl. She's going to be doing drugs and drinking. I don't know if that's a trigger warning for you, but that is like one of those, of course, you shouldn't be doing that. We got an attempted rape. We got statutory rape. But I will say that these scenes and then the sex scenes are not very graphic. They just kind of like, oh yeah, they had sex and probably like a couple sentences, but they do not go into like great detail of like the sex scene. So it's not too much or whatever like that. So 5 stars, would recommend, am recommending, the coolest winter ever. Okay. So this book does not have a little description of like what's going to happen. It just basically got like all of the great reviews that the book got when it was released. So it does not have like a this is going to happen, and this is winter story type of thing. Era, the coldest winter ever by Sister Soldier. So yes, so that is kind of like a little prequel to the book or whatever like that. So like I said, she didn't really give an idea what the book was gonna be about. So but I liked it that though, right? So and we did our book report questions already. So we are going to go ahead and we're gonna skip to the reading, and then we're gonna wrap it up. All right. So as you can see, can't trick y'all with this one. It's a good, healthy part of the book where I am deciding to read. So, like I said, just enough juiciness to get you wrapped up in the book, but not get too much away. Like, I don't want to get a plots away. I don't want to get a surprises away. I don't want to get an endings away. So I'm trying to do a really good job of picking parts where I think it's juicy enough and it does not give the book away. The part that I am actually going to read is the part that has never left my mind since I read this book, right? You see me flipping back a little bit. I wasn't actually on the right paragraph. So yes, this is the part that has like never left my mind since I read this book. I did reread this book for the podcast. I have not reread this book since I read it the first time, and not because of any particular reason, but yeah, but I still remember it. I think if I would have had a chance to reread it, I would have, but like I said, it was not free on the Kindle, and I only went out to go get it from the library because of the podcast and in order to read it to you guys. The one who won the pageant, Frankie, guess? What is he saying? What is he saying? I asked Lauren. She didn't answer, so I ran back to Soldier's room and picked up the other phone. Lauren, between you and me, is she fiending for the dick? It's Tony she should be talking to. He's the one who fucked her. Ain't that right, dog? Who that? Tony voice asked from a distance. You remember the little freak we played Switch with the other night? Hey. So, I actually didn't finish that chapter from The Coldest Winter Ever. We're going to stop right there because I feel like that's enough for y'all, right? So like I said, I want to bring you to the cliff, but we're not going to jump off. You got to jump off on your own. But like I said, I think I gave you guys enough just to give you a good idea and get you kind of a little taste of the books, right? Just to give you enough so you can make that decision on if you want to read one of the books or if you're going to read all of the books, right? Because I did say we're going to do three books or 3 book titles a week. So you can do all of them or you can do one of them. But I gave you guys read the passages so that you can kind of, determine like what you want to do, which one kind of fit into what you like to read, right? Cool. All right. So I know today has been a very packed podcast, so I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So the books that we did read today, the books that we reviewed today was that Eastside Love by Lucinda John, Still in the Pastor's Daughter by Edwina Ford, and The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. So to all of those authors, the review, we recommend you. Alrighty guys, so if you want to hit me up with any questions, tell me what you thought of the book, if you have any book recommendations, or if you are Arthur and you are looking to get your book reviewed on a pod, or if you are an Arthur who's looking to get your book proofread, you can hit me up at ts_tammiepod@yahoo.com. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is topshelf_Tammie. And if you want to hit me up on TikTok or follow me on TikTok, it's topshelftammie. Alrighty guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Review Podcast. See you next week.